Here, I'm one of the Light Elegance brand ambassadors. Today we're going to be doing some Spooky Nights nail art in support of the online trade show that we're hosting this weekend. That will be available until midnight tomorrow. So a little bit about me. So yeah, my name's Nicole. I've been using Light Elegance now for 5 years. Been a nail technician for 6. Started out using substandard brands and ended up with allergies, so I had to find something that I could actually work with before having to down my tools, and luckily got recommended Light Elegance, and that's where we are today. Nothing but love for them. The ethos, the products themselves, they speak for themselves. They're amazing. So yeah, really chuffed that I found them. Otherwise I don't think I'd be doing the career that I love now. Can I just get a thumbs up if people can hear me, because I'm just trying to use a mirror screen so that I can actually see your comments once I actually put you around to show you the images that I'll be creating today. So if you can hear me, can you just give me a thumbs up? Lovely. Thank you. Maximum Beauty Hair and Nails. Perfect. Right. Okay. So online trade show today. Make sure if you're doing any of the online shopping, you put in code autumn20. That will give you 20% off across the site. So make sure that you're doing that. It's a big saving, so it's worth filling up your baskets with any necessities that you need. And any extras that you just want, really. Sorry, I'm a bit fidgety. For those of you that do know, there are some of you that probably won't know, I am currently 36 weeks pregnant, so sitting still isn't the most comfortable thing for me at the moment. But here we are. 3 more weeks to go and then we're done. So, right, I am going to now turn you round so that you can see the examples that I've got, what we're going to go for. I've got some bases for the designs. I don't think I'm going to have time to do all of them, so I'm going to show you the different bases, and maybe you guys can pick which one you want me to do, and then we'll just focus on the actual art itself after that. So I'll just switch around now. Right. Okay, so just zoom you in, get rid of that. We don't want that. There we go. Lovely jubbly. So what we have got today, we've got some examples of some bases. So I'll show you the art on top of the bases first. So we have got a spooky little kitty cat. So just a cute little night sky. I can do the base for that one. Or we've got a cute little sort of cartoonized haunted house. Or we have got the spooky pumpkin. However, with the spooky pumpkin, I don't actually like the combination of, I've decided, not too keen on the combination of the shiny mixed with the matte, so we'll probably go all matte for that one. So if we say the background for the cat is number 1, background for the spooky house is number 2, and background for the pumpkin is number 3. If we could cast our votes on that and let me know what you'd prefer to see. So Autumn Lane Beauty, you'd like to see the background for the kitty cat. It is quite a nice one to do. So I'm just going to zoom in a bit more as well, because that's just not quite. Okay, and then we've got Anne, who's also saying the kitty cat background. Lovely, because we get to use some fantastic new products with that as well. Right. And Tina, you've asked for that one as well. No problem, guys. So we are going to go for the kitty cat. I'm going to make a start on the background and then we can work on the actual nail art itself. So here we go. Used the blink tips for these in the almond shape. I absolutely adore these. So to create the background for the kitty cat, what I initially did is went in with Boomer White. You're going to have to excuse me. We may end up with a cat. No, you're going to go away. Okay. I have a cat that likes to go on my desk. If you can get down. Thank you. So it's just a Boomer White. Although it is a Boomer White, it's more of a marshmallowy colour white. It is still quite pigmented. So you can do a paint on layer and get the coverage that you want. So I just start off with Boomer White on there as a paint on layer. And then what I tend to do is just let it set for a little bit so that the sort of streakies goes away, so it all sort of self levels out. Maybe flip it upside down if you do apply a little bit too much. But we'll just put the Boomer White on there and then pop that into the lamp. The buttercreams that I'm going to be using today, really simple. We have literally 3 buttercreams today. So we have got Ride the Rails, we've got Just White, and we've got Black Tie. So if you're new to Light Elegance and you haven't started building up a colour collection yet, this kind of nail art is great, because obviously the main ones you're going to always go for when you're setting up is mixing, is having a black and a white. So, and this is what they look like on the palette there. So they're the colours we're going to go for. I will also be using, if we are able to get the haunted house done, the sheer black new Jimmy gel as well. Absolutely perfect for shading. Okay. So once we've done the Boomer White, then going to take, you can use any kind of detail brush. I'm using Stripey. It is on its last legs, so I am in search of a new striping brush pretty soon, because I've had to snip away at the fibres to within an inch of their life. Yeah, you're right, he probably does just want to see his friends. Actually, he's quite an antisocial cat. He's quite antisocial, other than with the ones that I've got already. With the one that I've got already, he's not the most sociable animal. So what we start off doing once we've done the Boomer White base is we go round and we just literally frame the nail with the Black Tie buttercream. Now, you don't have to be perfect with this because you will be blending it out. So you don't have to worry about being too perfect. But just make sure you get right up to the edges. But when it comes to sort of the inner part, don't worry about it being, you know, perfectly equidistant from the edges of the nail, because it really doesn't matter. If we have time at the end, I will show you some of the other bases as well, but I thought, oh, I'll prep them first so that we've got them all sitting here waiting, just in case, because we are limited on time. It's really difficult to see with the with black gloves. Didn't think about that when I had the light facing down that way, but never mind. So what we start off with is a relatively fine black border around the whole nail, like that for the base. And then any type of ombre brush that you can get your hands on. This one, I don't even know where I got it from, but it's been my ride and die for a very long time. And the good thing with ombre is you like the bristles to be quite dry and separated, so they do last quite a while. And then what you want to do is just gently tickle. Start off by just gently tickling and pulling down the black towards the centre. Don't worry about it being stripy for now. We just need to get that generic shape coming down. So yeah, if we can bring it in, I'd say about a quarter of the way. Like I said, the stripiness doesn't matter for now. So have it like that. And then wipe any product off of the ombre brush again. And then what I do is, using the flat side of the brush, is I tap it. And that tends to blend the rest of it out and softens where it looks a bit stripy. But again, it's not, doesn't have to be perfect, as we will be doing something else to sort of blend it and blur it that little bit more in the next step. Yeah, we just tap away. Until we're happy with that. There we go. So when we're looking sort of like that, we just literally pop it into the lamp. And we'll pop that in for 60 seconds. And then what we need to do is pick up our new Jimmy Gel Sheer Black. I don't know if any of you had a chance to have a play with this yet, but I am absolutely obsessed, being a complete goth grunger metalhead at heart. This was just, when this was released, I was just absolutely in love. Absolutely in love. So what we need to do now, just get a small amount of that. And then what I do is just a thin paint on layer. And that just blurs that out. Blurs those edges out for me. So that started to blur the edges there. And then we'll pop that into the lamp. And then the next one that we're going to want to look at is another new one, which is the Jimmy Gel Sheer Sparkle. Now this is just absolutely stunning. I'm using it in Halloween nails, but on its own over a nude base, or just on its own altogether, I think would be perfect for bridal nails. I think that's going to be really popular come wedding season again next year. So then what we need to do for this base is just do, again, nice thin paint on layer. And then if you were doing this on a person, at this point is when you would probably put in your structure. So you do a little bit start your apex and building your structure down. I'm only going to do it quite thinly on the tip because obviously the tip's already got structure built in. But another great thing about the Jimmy gels is their self-leveling ability is just chef's kiss. So you don't have to do any filing once you've applied it at all. Okay, so turn it upside down if you feel that there are some uneven areas, but with the Jimmy gel it's really easy to manipulate, and then we pop that into the lamp. And then what we would then need to do is apply our flat mat. So I'll pop a layer of that on top and get that cured. So depending on how much time we have, which one would you rather see, pumpkins or haunted house, after we've done the kitty cat? So I'm just taking the flat mat there. There we go. That's a flat mat on there. So, and as if like magic, here we go. Here's one I made earlier. So what we're going to do now is go in with, so to do the moon for our cutesy little kitty cat, so simple, a nice chunky dotting tool with some white buttercream, just white buttercream, pinpoint where you'd like that to go. I'm going to try and re-angle my light quickly because it's not, there we go. That'll make it a bit easier for me to see the screen as well. So pinpoint where you want it to go. So we're looking at about there. You do not need a lot of product. Pigmentation in buttercreams is insane. So if you put too much on, it's just going to be a complete flooding overload. And then sometimes I use these. You can buy the replaceable sponges, but they do also clean up really well with IPA. Or you can just use a beauty sponge or your finger, a gloved finger. It doesn't have to be anything fancy like this. Where there's a will, there's a way when it comes to doing this sort of splodgy effect. So I just literally start, and I don't move the location too much, and then I just tap it in, and then I think it's a little bit more, not much, and I'll just apply a little bit more to build it up, not curing in between, just building the product up there. That's it. And it doesn't need to be perfect. There we go. And that's onto a matte surface because I do love working onto a matte surface. Right, so that's your moon. So what I would then do is flash cure that, so that I can then begin working on my little tree. This one is probably the easiest one out of the two. So I flash cured that, and then the tree, I want it off center so that I can actually highlight it. in line with the cast of the moon. So I want to try and use as much of the nail space as possible so we haven't got too many sort of blank areas. So bringing it down. You don't want it too thin. You want to be able to add that highlight, but you also don't want it ridiculously thick either. And being too chunky. And then for the branches, it's just really irregular little squiggles. Just literally, when you're doing these kinds of things, either use a reference image, which you can always find on Google. Find a reference image for tree silhouette, or just look outside if you're lucky enough to live in a more rural area, or you've just got a tree outside and it's dark. You can use that as your inspiration. You don't have to, it's usually easier to look at the real thing. And then we're just going to make sure we've got all those branches going as far as we want. And then we can't forget the last branch, which is the one that our little cute kitty cat's going to sit on. So I just want to make sure that comes down. That's it. And then we need a branch for our kitty to sit on. Okay. So you can flash cure in between these, or you can just go for it. I am going to just go for it today because I'm feeling brave. So I've got a double-ended dotting tool, 2 different sizes, nice chunky one. Is going to give us our body for our cat. So you can push it down. If just dabbing it isn't quite big enough, just give it a little circular motion just to widen that up a little bit. And then I'll switch it over to the, where am I going? There I am, thin side. And pop a second little circle on top. And there's his little head. So when it comes to the ears, you don't really need to add more product on. You can drag the product up from the existing dot that you've created for the head, because sometimes you will end up putting too much product on that way otherwise. So just using the, it's not dry because I've obviously been using it, but it's definitely not got brand new fresh product on it. And then you just need to pull that up using the very tip of your brush into your little kitty cat ears. So then we've got our kitty cat. You can also use your brush to tease the face out a bit if you want it to be a little bit wider. And then same with the tail. Go from the centre of your dot for the body and then just bring it out. Talking about cats, my awkward one is here, so I do apologise if I end up with a cat. There we go, and there's his little tail. So I will need to flash cure that one very briefly. You're not getting up there, get down. No. I am completely open plan in my house downstairs as well, so unfortunately there is no escaping the cats. Baby gates don't stop cats. Okay. So then what we're going to do is we're going to go in with the Just White Buttercream now. Really, really sparsely on the brush. Drag your brush right through so that you can hardly see that there's product on there. And then when you're doing reflections, you need to do the white lines on the side of the item where you would expect the light from the light source to be generating from. So your moon's there, the light is going to be going up that way, down that way. So up that way and down that way. So we just do a little line there. And it's also going to catch under the branches. It'll catch your little kitty cat's body. Little face, little ears. And then it will catch under those branches as well. There we go. So then we just pop that into the lamp for 60 seconds. Okay, so I think, thank you darling, I do love a little cute kitty cat. I just thought something a bit cuter but still dark and moody with the colour palette, because I'm definitely a dark and moody kind of person. Right, and then the next one I think Autumn Lane Beauty wanted to see the house as the next one. I just want to check up on the time briefly. Yeah, we've got some time. So we will jump on to the spooky house next. So this is the spooky house. What I will be doing is I will be doing some videos for the different bases that I haven't been able to show you today. So this is one that I've done, very similar process to the one that we've just done for the kitty cat, but I use Stormy kitty polish, P+ polish. So I will show that one at some point. Get down, OB. Right, so I'm just going to quickly as well, sorry, before I jump onto that, I'm just going to apply some flat matte onto this one, because I find that when you do nail art like this, a matte base is always a matte top coat is always the best, because you can it really makes the details pop. Then I think sometimes if you have a glossy one, and especially if you're using it for content, it can blur everything a bit when you're trying to get photos or videos. So we'll pop that in for a cure there. Right, so Haunted House. Let me get that up in front of me so I can see what I'm doing. So the way I did the Haunted House, I got an image off of Google of a cartoonized haunted house. One thing I think you need to always bear in mind when you're putting something as large as this onto a nail, you don't have to fit the whole thing on. I think sometimes people will try and fit everything onto the nail instead of taking a section and fitting it onto the nail, and then it can become too jumbled, or there's just not enough space to fit the detail in that you want. So it's definitely worth breaking it down into a size that's manageable. So you'll see as I go along. So what I start off by doing is initially sort of setting the parameter for where I want the bottom of my design to start. So I decided that I wanted that across here. We want a nice wiggly line because no grounds around a haunted house are going to be straight and perfect. And then just using the tip of my brush, just pull down that line so it's just a bit more higgledy-piggledy, shall we say. So this is Ride the Rails buttercream that I'm using. I absolutely love this grey. It's definitely one of my favourites. This one, and I believe Polymer Pow, but I'm not 100% sure if Polymer Pow is still available. I can check that if anyone wants to know. So we've done the bottom there, and one of the good things about a haunted house is walls aren't straight in a haunted house. So you don't have to sit there panicking going, oh no, I've not got it perfectly straight. So using the previous one as a reference, let's see if I can bring that down in here without the camera losing focus, because sometimes it can lose focus. Okay, so just really simple lines, starting with the whole outline first, not worrying about building any detailing just yet. We just want to get the outline down. So we've got a tower about there. And then we're going to have another little tower coming up there. And this one is going to need a little turret. So it's really just about mapping out the shapes. So at the moment that looks like not a lot. But once you've mapped out all the shapes that you want, and then you can go ahead and fill it in. So I've just realised that there's one bucket on the sink. There we go. So I use a shorter, slightly denser brush to do the infill of the colour. So I'm using Swirly today. So you just literally colour that all in. So that your base shade is all down. And just fill that in. Not a massive amount of greys, no. But what I would always suggest, if you feel that there's a gap in the colours, let one of us know, and then we can always raise it. We can always say, you know, starting to get feedback, or you can email HQ yourself. And just say, you know, feel like we're missing something. Grey is like one of my favourite colours as well. Well, lack of colours. So it makes it difficult for me. But I suppose with grey, especially if you're using it in shading or any sort of like really detailed work, you can just mix it yourself most of the time. Okay, so now that we've got that down, making sure that all, that's it. So that's the basic outline. Chuck it into the lamp. So that will need a full cure, because then what I'm going to need to do to be able to paint on these little details is put another layer of flat matte down on there, because it just makes it easier to be able to draw those straight lines. Yeah, I swear by colour mixing. Colour mixing for me is like one of my favourite things. You know, they're not always, especially if you're doing the detail stuff, you're not always going to have the exact colour. But luckily with Light Elegance, because there is still such a wide spectrum of colours to choose from, there is always going to be something in your collection that you can mix with something else in your collection that will get you the colour that your client wants. It's very unusual that I will come across a point where I can't match the colour that my client wants. Even if we haven't got it in a pot designed for that colour, there will usually be an opportunity to mix those together. So I'm just going to pop some flat matte down. Pop that in. I've just realised we're running very low on time. The next bit is pretty quick and easy to do though. So it's always fun while we're waiting for the them to cure. Right, let's quickly cleanse that off. Okay, so to get the detail onto your little spooky castle, you're going to need to go in with your Just White buttercream. You can choose a mixture of different colours if you want, but what I initially did was just go round outlining. Again, because it's more of a cartoonised spooky castle, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I actually think I quite like that effect. Perfect for me at the moment, because I feel like I might be having a slight sugar high after my dinner. Joys of gestational diabetes. So if my hands are a little bit shaky, I do apologise. Remember, when you're doing things like this on a client as well, you can ask your client to move their hand around. That's the one thing I always found when I first started doing nail art, was that I'd expect that their finger would always be this way. And then you'd try and have to manipulate your hand into a million different angles and cause yourself pain and discomfort trying to get the picture right. But you can ask your client, you know, can you twist your hand? You know, they're completely movable most of the time. It's just about opening up that dialogue with them, really. So we've got the basic outline. Also going to do some highlights on there. So that's there. Our little door. I like our little wonky entrance on our door there. And then you can choose whatever shape windows that you want. sort of quite unusual shaped windows. Didn't want anything matching, so they're all a little bit different. Again, because it's a sort of cartoonised spooky house, you're not having to panic about being, you know, hyper realistic or anything like that. You know, and you just go with what will fit in the space. So you can either use a brush to draw on a circle there, or you could have gone in with the dotting tool. And then all we need to do is pop in some shading. So I am using the new Jimmy Gel because it is fantastic for shading. You don't have to faff about. Blending, mixing or anything like that. You can just apply your shading on there and it does it all for you. And just decide where you want it to go. And just get a little bit of the white as well, just to make sure we've got, don't want that looking too straight. There we go, and there's our spooky house. All we need to do now is apply the matte top coat and give that a wipe over. So with the, I'm just going to talk you through the base for this one. Like I said, I will do a video for this. So this is the base that I did for the spooky pumpkin, which I will have to obviously do a video for as well. It is a base of white, Boomer White Jimmy Gel. And then it is a thin structure layer. It's not the full structure layer, but a thin structure layer of the new sheer black held upside down so that it pulls away from the edges, so that it provides that faded effect. And then it's got the sheer shimmer over the top, and then I just painted on my little spooky pumpkin on top of there. So that's how we do that one, but I will do a video showing you how to do that. And we just literally need to pop on some more flat matte. For that one. Pop it into the lamp for another 60 seconds. And then you will end up with that. So we've got our cute little kitty cat. I'll bring the one out of the lamp actually that I've just finished, that I'd finished with you. That's not the one I want. That's the one I want. Ooh, didn't want that either. So that's the one I did before, and that's the one I've done today. So you've got your cute little kitty cats there, and you've got your spooky Halloween there. And then that is your spooky castles there. So that's the one I did before, and that's the one I've done today. And that's those all done. I hope that was helpful for you guys. Let me just flip you back around, if it will let me. Dear. Trying to flip that round. So that is that for you. So that was all part of our online trade show. So I hope anything that I've done there has helped you with tips and tricks or just giving you ideas. Don't forget you can save 20% using code autumn20. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye.